Minister as well. Minister, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Minister, for being here. And I also want to recognise Lorraine and the members of the IPAB, including the CEO, Genevieve. I want to... the reason I'm bringing this up is because many of you know that I'm involved in housing, I'm involved in homelessness, and I see blockages. I'm on the Housing Committee, I'm involved in an approved housing body, and day to day I constantly see people queuing up trying to buy houses, and there's blockages all the way. So the motion that I'm putting forward, it goes to the very heart of how people in Ireland are experiencing the housing system, not just in theory, but just in everyday and real life, lived experience. So whether that's buying or selling a home, Minister, it's clear that it's unnecessarily stressful, and it's uncertain, and it's costing a lot of money. So housing accessibility is what this motion is all about, and it's what it aims to facilitate. So if you read the proposal, it talks about is to establish a statutory procedure whereby when a seller of a property places the property on the market, then a set of legal documents, that's the seller's legal pack, will be compiled and advertised with the property and made available to potential buyers. Such documents will ensure that the buyers have all the key information relating to the property and ensuring the conveyancing process is more efficient than it presently is. So, way of background, the seller's legal pack was put forward before and devised and championed by Pat Davitt, the CEO of the IPAV, which is the Institute of Professional Auctioneers and Valuers, and that was after many years of complaints and research from property people as well as consumers alike. So those concerns over the years are well founded. And the conveyancing process in Ireland has become inefficient, onerous, and in many cases it has become detrimental to people trying to buy or sell a home. So what should be a straightforward transaction is often characterised by unavoidable delay. So with this motion, I know the original bill, the IPAV, they sought to address these conveyancing issues and delays as a matter of legislative urgency. So those delays are now part and parcel of our housing market, and they're contributing to property sales often falling through at a time when we are talking about a severe housing crisis. So on average it takes approximately 4 months from the point a property is placed on the market to when the transaction finally closes and the person gets the keys. So that period of uncertainty, it drives up costs, it undermines confidence in the market, and it places an enormous emotional strain on buyers and sellers alike. So for most people, buying a home is possibly the biggest financial outlay, financial decision that they will ever make. So far too often, after a property goes sale agreed, families are left in limbo. They're paying for all the surveys, their valuations, their legal advice, etc., only to discover that late in the process there are unresolved issues such as deeds, boundaries, etc., or maybe planning. So that's not just inefficient, that is unfair. So I'm going to give you an example. I know as an approved housing body, we were working on an apartment recently, and I spoke about it in the Housing Committee today, and it took us 8 months because all of the paperwork wasn't in place. I spoke to one of my constituents, a guy, Keith, a wonderful guy from Greystones, and he allowed me to use his example. And like so many people of his age, he did everything he was told to do. He saved up, he worked hard, and he eventually went sale agreed on what he hoped would be his first home. He paid for the survey, he paid for the valuation, he paid for the legal fees, and he planned his whole life around this purchase. Weeks later, remember, the mortgage has been approved and you have an expiry date, but weeks later, after all that, a title issue emerged, Minister, and this title issue had existed long before the property ever went on sale, and the sale obviously collapsed. His loan offer expired, and his outlay and his savings and his plans were badly hit. So he was back at square one, still renting, paying sky-high prices, and then carrying the emotional weight of my plans have all gone down the toilet, and they should never have progressed as far as they did in the first place. So the experience wasn't caused by recklessness or bad behaviour, but it was caused by a system that withholds critical legal information from the purchaser, and people are already financially and, as I said, emotionally committed, and then it all falls apart. The seller's pack, the seller's legal pack, would have saved Keith and his family time and money, and would have spared him months of stress and uncertainty at one of the most important times of his life. So his story, as we know, is not an isolated one. If you look at the national media, reporting shows that it has highlighted the emotional toll that the Irish home buying process imposes on ordinary family. A feature recently in the Irish Times described how many people feel when buying a home they are fighting a mental war, which is a process filled with frustration, uncertainty, and endless back and forth, where hope too often gives way to anxiety, and then offers, bids and timelines. They drag on without clarity. So that's the lived reality of people trying to build stability for themselves and their families. So what the seller's pack does is exactly what it says in the tin. It creates a statutory requirement for a seller's pack to be made available when a property is marketable and placed on the market. So if you front-load the conveyancing process and confirm the saleability of a property at the outset, then transaction times should reduce by up to 50%. And that would streamline costs, it would prevent gazumping, and it would also deliver greater certainty and transparency for the likes of Keith without imposing any additional costs on him or the seller. The seller's pack would reform the property sales process by allowing private sales to be treated exactly as they're doing with online sales, where legal documentation is already uploaded upfront and buyers know where they stand. And it therefore significantly reduces the likelihood of sales falling through due to delays or loan approvals expiring, and that's the reality that many families do face. International experience has also shown that this works in many other jurisdictions, and previous opportunities to address conveyancing delays in Ireland were well-intentioned, but they have not succeeded. The voluntary pre-contract investigation of title, or the PCIT, that did not deliver the change required, even though it was launched with such fanfare. So for over 10 years, agents have guided vendors in line with proposals from the conveyancing and probate implementation groups, best practice charter for solicitors and agents. But that document itself has no teeth and is not making a difference, and as a result, delays persist, imposing unnecessary costs and also uncertainty on consumers. The seller's legal pack, that improves upon these voluntary approaches and is designed to work for conveyancers, solicitors, auctioneers and consumers alike. The Housing for All Conveyancing and Probate Implementation Group, they drew on evidence from the Legal Services Regulatory Authority, and they confirmed that Irish buyers are now facing longer timeline and higher costs than buyers from other jurisdictions. The group did recommend an 8-week conveyancing target, and that is easily accessible if upfront information is put online or put with the property before it's marketed. And that also reflects the programme for government. But despite all of this well-intentioned negotiations, meaningful reform has not been delivered. The establishment of the expert group on conveyancing and probate nearly 2 years ago offered a real opportunity to address these issues. So while there has been some progress in the probate aspect of it, no measures introduced to date materially reduce conveyancing delays. So measures such as the national e-conveyancing system or any digital system, they'll only be as effective as the documentation that it requires from the outset. So again, if you don't front-load the conveyancing process, digitalisation alone will not shorten house purchasing timelines. So I know from the IPAV's perspective, two simple issues remain. And the first is the absence of mandatory standardised upfront legal documentation. And then the second one is the lack of agreed communication timelines between the solicitors and then the property service provider. So even the Law Society's own research shows that sales can take anywhere from 6 months to several years to complete. My own experience this year, we bought a place in May and it closed in December. So in July 2050, Competition and Consumer Protection Commission raised concerns about the lack of the upfront information for home buyers, and it specifically mentioned the Sellers Legal Pack as a practical solution to that. The CCPC identified that ensuring the essential documents such as title deeds, such as BER certificates and planning compliance, that's going to short circuit. If they're available before, it could reduce timelines from 17 weeks on average to the 8-week. So support for this Sellers Pack is broad and it's genuine, and it received cross-party engagement in the 33rd Dáil Minister, including from the former Minister for Justice, Helen McCarthy, who did not oppose it at second stage. It was supported by opposition housing spokespersons and also members of the Joint Committee on Justice. So in July 24, that committee completed detailed scrutiny and determined that the bill should proceed to committee stage. It is also supported by leading property firms and by over 2,000 licensed agents across every county. That's nearly half of all the agents in the state. So public support is equally as strong. An Ireland Thinks survey that found that 77% of public support for this pack, and it rises to 81% amongst younger adults, which is interesting. 97% of the IPAV members report frustration with the current conveyancing delays and strongly endorse this Sellers Pact. So housing accessibility, which I have always been championing, is for consumers, and they want this legislation, and that's what this motion is trying to facilitate. It places the stated ambitions of government on a clear legislative footing and delivers a practical, long overdue reform. It will reduce delay, reduce cost and stress for people. So in conclusion, Minister, the motion that I am proposing is that the government would address the issues outlined in the report on detailed scrutiny of the Sellers Legal Pack 2021, and to address the concerns about the conveyancing raised by the IPAV and the Law Society of Ireland in their previous submission. So also to liaise with the IPAV regarding how a new updated version of the Sellers Legal Pack could be made possible. And finally, bring forward an updated version of the bill which will implement all the benefits of the original 2021 bill within the timeline of the government. If it's not possible to address all of the issues outlined in the reports, perhaps introduce a bill or multiple bills so that it's possible to avail of as many of the benefits as possible. Minister, I believe that this is something that is achievable and is necessary to aid buyers and sellers. I have always said when there's a blockage, let's sit down and see how we can unblock it. So that's the proposal for this motion. Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Ciara.